after we hear a few of the witnesses, but we wanted to have this hearing, particularly even though the Congress is in recess. I want to thank all of you for being here today. I believe this is an important topic, and pleased to welcome the panelists, three of whom have traveled from Bahrain to be here. Once praised by Human Rights Watch as a model of reform in the Gulf region, human rights conditions in Bahrain have deteriorated over the past year. Human Rights Watch, Freedom House, and Bahrain Center for Human Rights have all reported on the degradation of human rights in Bahrain during this past year of 2007. Last leaving, after we hear a few of the witnesses, but we wanted to have this hearing, particularly even though the Congress is in recess. I want to thank all of you for being here today. I believe this is an important topic, and pleased to welcome the panelists, three of whom have traveled from Bahrain to be here. Once praised by Human Rights Watch as a model of reform in the Gulf region, human rights conditions in Bahrain have deteriorated over the past year. Human Rights Watch, Freedom House, and Bahrain Center for Human Rights have all reported on the degradation of human rights in Bahrain during this past year of 2007. Last year, the government of Bahrain launched a systematic campaign of repression through calculated, and we've seen sometimes violent crackdowns on opposition activists. In February 2007, authorities became too prominent human rights dissidents for criticizing the Prime Minister. While both were ultimately pardoned, it was indicative of a campaign of harassment launched by authorities, and in December, security forces killed a demonstrator peacefully protesting the government's past use of torture. Bahraini human rights groups allege that dozens of human rights and democracy activists arrested and detained have been subject to regular torture, and some say even sexual assault. In 2004, the government dissolved the Bahrain Committee on Human Rights and continues to deny the group legal status, although they still operate under harassment by the government. I believe that we have with us today the Vice President of the group who can expand further on the government's campaign to marginalize the group. Journalists and bloggers are subject to severe restrictions on freedom of speech. The 2002 press law states that the government can imprison journalists for insulting the king or Islam or for threatening national security, a term which is defined very, very broadly. Internet censorship is prevalent, and the government owns and controls the only internet service provider. Authorities block access to popular human rights and political opposition websites. Despite promising political reforms in the past, it looks like Bahrain has done little to institutionalize basic human rights, such as freedom of expression, assembly, and association, and inclusive law. While Shia Muslims comprise 70% of the population, they hold on 18% of high-ranking positions in the government. Shia are banned from serving in the state security service, and instead the government recruits Sunni foreign nationals from countries such as Saudi Arabia, Syria, and Jordan to serve as mercenary soldiers. The rest of the statement goes on, but basically what we're trying to do is to give these gentlemen an opportunity to air some of the concerns. When the Congress comes back into session, which will be sometime perhaps in late November or December, we'll begin to proceed again on this. But under those circumstances, let me just now thank you for coming and turn it over to how the witnesses will schedule to go first, second, and third. Thank you very much.
My name is Toby Jones. Professor of Middle East History at Rutgers University in New Jersey, which isn't quite like Bahrain, but it's not so far. As an academic who loves to draw on and hear his own voice, it's hard to keep my comments to 7 minutes, but I'll do my best. I assume that there's some repetition throughout the day, so I'll lay out the big picture. This covers the last 5 or 6 years of current state of politics, current state of political thought. Bahrain's political leaders like to claim that the small country, where minority Sunnis rule over a majority Shia population, is an island of political pluralism and tolerance. Considering the neighborhood in which Bahrain makes its home, the dismal state of political and civil liberties throughout the region, and the enduring power of authoritarian excess, these claims possess a superficial plausibility. After all, since 2002, Bahrain has held elections for local and national councils. Women have the right to vote and serve in public office. There is a vibrant civil society, and at least in theory, the system does not discriminate based on religious difference. On closer inspection, however, it is clear that the claim of leadership is little more than myth. That Bahrain's experiment with political reform begun in 2001 has proven more an effort to reconfigure central authority than redistribute it. And that religious difference and a dangerous, hateful, and incendiary sectarian politics has become the order of the day. What Bahrain leaders point to is their best evidence that the country has embarked on an ambitious path of political reform, suggests in reality that not only is reform illusory, but that the new mechanisms and institutions of government have reinforced centralized power and weakened organizations that represent society. Bahrain's parliament, an 80-person assembly that is half elected and half appointed, possesses real little authority, is structurally unable to write, let alone pass actual legislation, and serves more as a central theater for political performance than governance. The weak nature of Bahrain's central representative and legislative body represents, on the one hand, the typical anxiety of authoritarian regimes that are unwilling to part with power. Whatever the pressures that generate calls for reform in the first place, authoritarian governments such as Bahrain's will, in the end, seek ways to ensure their primacy. The Bahraini government's authoritative impulse, or authoritarian impulse, is not all that's in play, however. The country's leaders also view the consequences of opening up the political system in such a way that the country's Shiite majority might become more influential in determining the country's affairs. Checking and rolling back Shiite demographic power has been a principal objective. The government's sectarian anxieties and prejudices are not evident in the way, are most evident in the way it handles elections, another of its important institutions of reform. In a manner that should evoke the worst memories of the United States' own Jim Crow past, Bahrain has built sectarian discrimination into the electoral process by gerrymandering districts, suppressing the Shiite vote, and using other means to ensure the Shiite population remains on the margins of the political system. In the last few years, sectarian tension in Bahrain has deepened, mostly as a result of government policy and practice. Since 2005, Bahraini police and security forces have regularly resorted to violence in their efforts to stop Shiites from expressing their grievances regarding the stalled state of political reform and the increasingly shrill sectarian nature of politics. To be sure, Bahraini Shiites have also manipulated sectarian anxiety to achieve political ends, but the balance of responsibility tips mostly in the direction of the government. Congressman Wolf laid out some of the more disturbing trends that have begun really since December 2007, including waves of arrests against activists demonstrating publicly, the breaking up of publicly held and organized meetings that discussed issues such as human rights, religious interest of the Shiite community, but also perhaps most disturbingly, very powerful alleged reports of return or resort on the part of the central government to torture, including reports of sexual assault and human electrocution. While Bahrain's sectarian troubles are not new, they are not timeless either. For those of us that hang on to the canard of this timeless Shi'i-Sunni enmity, this is a mistake both in Bahrain and around the region. The Iranian Revolution mobilized the reasoned Shiites in the 1970s and radicalized many. In the 1980s, the Bahraini government expressed justifiable concerns about Iranian power and its efforts to mobilize revolutionary sympathizers in places like Bahrain, also Kuwait, Saudi Arabia. I want to emphasize this, however. But the era of direct Iranian influence in places like Bahrain and Saudi Arabia is over.